Is that Doombox? I don't know. Is it? Actually, no.
It could be.
Wait, no. Whoa. Okay, like you're supposed to stay quiet and just pretend that you're not here, and I'm just using your image for views, dude. That's the whole point there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not here.
Yeah, this is all pre-recorded. It's all a bunch of pre-recorded little voice lines we got together. But no, yes, it is. It is indeed Doombox. Guild Wars 1, God walking amongst mere mortals. Okay, and then we also have Nike, conspiracy leader, and actually massive Guild Wars 2 fan, repping the Guild Wars 2 t-shirt there. And finally, it's MMO Inks, the aggressive casual. He's tweeting about being a casual on Twitter right now. Got a lot of likes on that tweet there. Inks, you're kind of setting that up. Getting support there, defending the casuals. Yeah, but well, I mean, there have been some happenings actually this week, haven't there? And well, we've got a lot of varied perspectives here. But seeing as Nike's video was all about how we got there, right? How we got to where we are. Let's start with a little bit of a Guild Wars 1 question, because Nike also has a lot of experience in Guild Wars 1 as well, actually. So let's extend the history back. And Doombox, why do you prefer Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2?
Well, first, I feel like I should say a lot of people think that I'm one of those people that, played Guild Wars 2 on like launch day and then quit immediately and was like, this game is trash, and went back to Guild Wars 1. That's not true. I actually played a lot of Guild Wars 2. I just didn't really have like the same presence I did online as I did for Guild Wars 1, just because I didn't really want to. But yeah, so I hit a point where this was probably around like Wing 5 after I killed Doom for the first time. I just went back to Guild Wars 1 because I was like, I don't really feel fulfilled playing Guild Wars 2 anymore. The way that I put it is, in Guild Wars 1, I realized that when I'm playing it, I'm actually having fun. I'm engaged with the game. It feels like I'm like the same joy you would get from like firing up a game when you were a kid and playing it. Guild Wars 2, I came to realize I feel like I'm like a rat in some experiment, like being forced through a maze to get a food pellet at the end or something. Like little things from when, right when you log in, you're presented with like the login rewards. It's like a little thing, but here's a little chest. You get your dopamine hit for the day. And so much of the content is like locked behind resets and stuff that it turns into almost an obligation. Like raids for me turned into just like a weekly thing that you had to do. And like, I felt guilty for not doing them, but I wasn't actually like enjoying them. Like just the way that the reward systems are structured and the way that the content is structured, like I feel like I'm like forced into things, and it's just, you don't just pick it up and play it. Like there's just all these little things surrounding it that don't make it fun to me. But I mean, I'm still a fan of the series as a whole, and like I check out new stuff when it comes out in Guild Wars 2. I'm just disappointed in the direction the game took, and it's weird to me that it ended up this way, because it feels like it wasn't really advertised to be the way that it became. Like I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, to a certain extent, it has always been a little bit like that. The time gating in Guild Wars 2, right? Not exactly the time gating though. It's like the lack of. They really don't want you to grind, right? Guild Wars 2 is the game with no grinding, so they just like force you to not do it, right? Like, oh, you want to do?
Yeah,
you want
to like overcompensate.
Well, yeah, almost. Exactly. Yeah, like, yeah.
If you're the type of player that wants to leverage your time to get the most value possible out of your time, you can't just zero in on not even just one game mode, one like sub-genre within a game mode. Like if you like dungeons, you can't just dungeon all day, every day if you want to be like maximizing your value. You have to raid, you have to do everything. You have to do your dailies, your world v world dailies. You have to do all of that stuff.
Well, they took like no grind philosophy so far to the point where you like almost can't do things more than once. Like even the story missions are formatted in such a way where like they provide basically no replay value. I guess you could do achievements. Maybe that's one more time. But in Guild Wars 1, like the story missions like were the game. Like missions were actual levels that were designed, that were outposts you could start the mission in, you could go back and replay them. The gameplay type in the missions was like the same gameplay loop of content that you experience in Endgame. In Guild Wars 2, the story missions, it feels like you're in like Disney World on one of those rides where you're just like riding through looking at like animatronic robots on the side. You're not actually like playing, you know?
Yeah. Well, the content was for a huge majority of the players was a massive level of challenge as well, right? You know, like it was actual gameplay, right? Whereas in Guild Wars 2, it's not that, right? You know, and especially with hard mode, right? Like Guild Wars 1 had this very, very extensive hard mode system, right? Where you
and another thing,
just like,
sorry, go ahead.
where you just, you know, even once you've beaten it through on normal, which is obviously, you know, it's really ain't that hard, right? But then you do have the hard mode, and some of those, you know, like, you know, they'll trip you up a little bit, especially if you're not running a really abusive Guild Wars 1 comp, right? So yeah, there's a lot of content to be had there, and it certainly makes it into a more rewarding and compelling experience, that's for sure. Overcoming a challenge is a key part of a game, right?
Well, another interesting thing is Guild Wars 1 at the end of the day really wasn't that hard of a game. I see a lot of people kind of glorifying Guild Wars 1 as like this super hardcore game when really it wasn't. Like, you could get through most of the game and beat it with pretty much just a basic build as long as you pay attention. But the interesting thing was you were able to make it challenging if you wanted and like be appropriately rewarded for that challenge. Like if you just wanted to run into like FOW and do it with like a, you know, just a regular team, you could do it casually. It's fairly easy. But you could also, you know, if you want to turn it around and speed run, do crazy strats where people are splitting up and doing their own thing and you do it really fast, you could just keep doing that and get awarded for doing it quickly. You get the rewards quicker. And the missions themselves weren't particularly difficult. Granted, you know, some of them got harder as the game went on, but as long as you paid attention, like you succeeded. Like the fact that when you wiped, you lost and you had to restart, like made it, there was like a sense of urgency. Like you had to pay attention. If you mess up, you're gone. So because of that little thing, you're forced to be engaged with it. Guild Wars 2, like you just die, it doesn't matter, and it's whatever. Like that, just that little bit of knowing, like if we screw this up, we have to start over.
Oh yeah,
like just made it engaging inherently.
Yeah, well, it's what you say about kind of decisions mattering, right? You know, that's something that's not really present in Guild Wars 2, and having to pay attention in Guild Wars 1. It's not necessarily the most back-breaking content ever, especially if you kind of know what you're doing and you're running, you know, a good say hero setup or something like that, or good party composition. And yeah, like you're going to be able to kind of stomp stuff, but you know, you can still very easily die, right? Like it wouldn't be hard. If you fuck up, you can still just completely get smashed. Whereas in Guild Wars 2, that's certainly not the case, and you know, you feel certainly less. I don't know. I personally don't really feel engaged with like any of the living world content just for that reason. Is because I feel like no matter what I do, it doesn't really make any difference. I'm just going to be on a conveyor belt rolling around, and eventually I'll get to the end of the map, right? Yeah, hooray! Nice, good stuff. Oh man, what's your take on that, Nike? Actually, because you play a lot of Guild Wars 1 as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the type that really cared about the story missions in Guild Wars 1 either. Like, I mean, I did them on normal and hard mode just for the GWAM, but like, for me, the thing I like most currently about Guild Wars 1 is, and I hate to say it, is that it's like, the joke is that Guild Wars 2 is turning into a single player game, but like Guild Wars 1 is a better single player game. Because you can log in at 3 a.m. and go, okay, I want to run a dungeon, and just get your heroes and run a dungeon. So it's like you can't even do that in Guild Wars 2. Like in Guild Wars 2, the open world is a single player game, but the instant stuff is still a group game. So like Guild Wars, like, so even as a single player game, like I think Guild Wars 1 is the superior experience.
So do you think there was like a certain level of conflicted identity moving into Guild Wars 2 then? Because like certainly the philosophy of Guild Wars 2 is very different to Guild Wars 1. They did want to move in a more open world kind of direction. Do you think there was some stuff kind of lost in translation there as the game was moving over?
My guess would be that their initial plan was to make PvP really elitist in Guild Wars 2 and PvE like really easy. And then, like, yeah, dungeons were supposed to be hard, but like that was like, but they wanted, like, generally speaking, PvE to be like kind of a casual experience, but they wanted PvP to be like hardcore pro level, like PvP, and I genuinely feel that they thought at launch of Guild Wars 2 that World v World was supposed to be the PvE endgame. Like, you were supposed to gear up in dungeons, like that's where you were supposed to get your exotic gear, and then you were supposed to go into World v World and play. Like, I think that was the initial vision for the game.
And go ahead.
They underestimated how many people do not give a shit about PvP because even World v World dying to someone else is too scary.
Yeah,
and triggers their anxiety issues, and so they have to go back to Queen's Day.
How did that mentality happen? Is that just a sign of the times? Like
I've always wondered that.
Yeah. Because I don't think this is unique to Guild Wars 2 as such, actually. I think this is a lot of games, and particularly MMORPGs. I think people really don't like the idea of losing, right? You know, or failure, I suppose, right? Everyone's very loss averse online. How did that happen? Like, when did that creep in? Was it the games started cushioning you, or was it people kind of just stopped liking it and then the games adapted? It's such a weird thing. Like, when did that kind of come into gaming, right? Because it's a bit fucked, isn't it? Really,
it could be people just like growing older, like people that were young and like in high school and college and could just play games all day, like were able to do whatever. But then once they started getting jobs and stuff, they were like, I don't have time to grind or to lose, so let's just, I just want to pop on for an hour and get free.
I would bet that there's some data that suggests that when most players make their decision to like stop their gaming session for the night, it's when they die. So if you can keep, if someone is doing like dungeon, like let's say it's like Guild Wars 1 where you're doing dungeons and you die and you have to start over, my guess would be people would be more likely to go, oh, I died, and then log out, rather than and that is not what they want. They want you to stay logged in and keep playing and keep going to the gem store. So they make it so you die less often, or you wipe less often, or there's less punishment for dying, and you're less likely to log out when you die.
Well, what's interesting about that point is like the hardcore PvE content in Guild Wars 2 is structured way more around dying than it is in Guild Wars. Like Guild Wars 1, the end game areas are like you're not supposed to die. Like if you die, then it's over. Like the raids in Guild Wars 2, like the way you progress through them, you're gonna die a whole bunch of times before you actually beat it. Like that's always been another thing that I think I preferred about Guild Wars 1. Like the rush of the feeling that you get from being in like a really long like DOA or FOW session, like towards the end, you've been in it for a really long time and like you're hoping you don't die, and then you finally beat it, like feels way more satisfying than like wiping 100 times and then beating it. I don't know. It's just a preference thing, but it is interesting that you're supposed to die. I would disagree with that.
I don't know. I think like the first time you kill a raid, like the first time you killed Doom CM, like especially if you did it with a progression group where no one had done it yet, like, and you're looking at 50 to 200 pulls before you kill it, like, and you finally kill it, that is really high energy. Like, it feels good.
Yeah, I mean, I had a ton of fun raiding, don't get me wrong. I never came from like a raiding background. Like I never played WoW or games like that. So it was kind of new to me. I guess it's just what I was used to, but I did quite enjoy like my first kills of raid bosses. That was fun. Still haven't done the new wing though. Got to get on that at some point.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for having a bit of extra tension, right? And I think that's something I can definitely appreciate about Guild Wars 1, right? You know, because if you screw up, well, you've got to start again. But I think you can even have an approach of both to a certain extent, right? You know, you could have different instances with some different different setups, right? So yeah, like there is, I don't know, in Guild Wars 2 you certainly do get that, right? Because the encounters are very long as well. Like some of the bosses can, especially on progression, you can be going for like nearly 10 minutes potentially, and like, are you going to be able to make it, right? You're watching that health go down, right? And it's like, oh, there's a certain level of intensity. I think both of those systems can work really well actually to generate an engaging experience. But it is a good point you raised though about the Guild Wars 2 raids being kind of designed around failure. Perhaps that's why people don't really like it that much, because raids are a bit of a, it's a bit of a situation, right? They're not doing so hot right now. People fear them, and a lot of the complaints from the community are that they don't want to just bash their head into something, right? And then for ages just to kill it, just to get some rewards, right? Because they would rather just do something else in the game, right? They would just rather run around in circles, auto-attacking stuff, and then eventually just get the reward that way, right? Rather than actually put some effort in. It is weird. It's it's this mentality of like, oh, it's just a game, I don't want it to be a job. It's not a job, bro. So I just want to get my shinies. It's certainly an odd one. Sign of the times.
I think for raids too, it's the time investment. It's a time investment with people with perhaps not static groups, right? So if you just did an 8-hour shift at work and you come home, do you want to raid for 2 hours? Some people, the answer is yes. For other people, it's like, I just had a shit day. I just want to run around in circles, like you said, auto attacking or whatever that nonsense is. And because Guild Wars 2 for a very long time has catered to that type of gameplay, that type of mentality, I think it's just set in people's minds that that's all they really need to do or really want to do in this particular game.
And that's understandable. I think the pug experience in Guild Wars 2 is rough, and I actually think this is genuinely because it's genuinely because Guild Wars 2 doesn't have difficulty settings, to be honest. I think if you want to have a kind of casual approach to raiding, which is almost necessary in today's market, I would say, I think you kind of need something like LFR, right? You need that auto group finder and a difficulty that will never fail, right, to a certain extent. Otherwise, yeah, like the pug experience is pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. I pug a lot now because my entire guild quit the game. And yeah, most of the people who watch the stream, I have to like force them to log in a lot of the time. So the pug experience is not great. Most people are not good. Even the people who've beaten every boss with all CMs, they're not good. And as a result of that, yeah, you do die a lot, and you might not get anything, and it is somewhat frustrating. And yeah, you do indeed need a lot of kill proof and LI sometimes. Like, for example, just the other day, right, I joined a pug group on my alt account. It was a 200 LI group, and I pinged 188 because I couldn't be bothered to go to my bank because I had another 750 in the bank on my alt account. And I got kicked for 12 insights and then blocked as well. Yeah, that was good.
Well, you deserved it.
That was a fun meme. That was a good shit right there. Feels good. I don't think I deserved that one, but maybe I did. Not enough insights, boys. So there you have it.
Just to address chat a little bit. Yes, every day is a shit day. No. You're right. People are lazy and uninterested in overcoming a challenge. Why? Because they just worked 8 hours and they don't feel like putting effort forward into doing that. Maybe on the weekend if they have time for that. But I think people underestimate how many players MMORPGs have nowadays that literally only play like 5 hours a week, maybe. And Guild Wars 2, like it or not, really caters to that audience. To come in, pay money, bypass whatever, and just, put like no effort in.
And buy a chair. Just buy a chair.
Yeah, buy a chair.
There's also like a huge gulf between being in a good static group and pugging. Like, with a good static group, to be a good static group, you probably have to raid like 6 hours a week together, I would say, to be like really good. And that's a huge time commitment, because not only is it like 6 hours of free time, but it's like 6 specific hours where you have 9 other people who have all set aside those 6 specific hours. So like as a group, it's a very big commitment to be in a static raid group. And if you can make it happen, the reward for that is you get to play with friends, and you can control for builds and skill level, and it's a much more fun experience. If you can't, then you have to go back down to like a bad static, which is probably worse than pugging. And at that point, you're probably better off pugging. And the pug experience is fucking terrible. Like I wouldn't do it. I don't know how Teapot can handle it. He plays heel necro. That's the only probably way that he could handle it. But
it's the whenever I try to play DPS, I end up rage quitting pretty much. I'm not gonna lie. It's rough.
Just terrible experience.
Well, having a bad static is like the worst of both worlds.
Oh yeah, a bad static is the worst because it's almost always, because you get the people, and you see these people in pugs too, but they're the people that like wipe the group and then go, haha, I messed up, haha, and like, and you're just like,
oh no.
Be like, I just want you to not make the mistake a second time. Like, you don't have to apologize or laugh about it. Just don't make the mistake again. But then after the 4th time, they're like, XD didn't see it, and you're like reaching up for the quit leave group button. Like,
it's like you're also stuck on like you're in a time commitment, like you have that aspect, but like you don't even get anything back for it. Like you get the bad players that you get in a pug, and you still have to do like every Tuesday night you have this like if you have a good static, you're at least like rewarded by honoring that commitment with like good clears. Instead, you just get bad runs. It's like, why would you even dedicate the time?
It breeds like a very low level negativity, where like the 3 good people in the group start whispering each other about the 3 terrible people in the group, and then like little conspiracies start forming, and like little like
the coup.
Maybe we should start our own group without these 3 people. And do you have any friends? Like, and then like it just gets really toxic really fast.
Oh yeah,
it's just such a bad experience.
Yeah,
are
you speaking from experience there, Nike? Because I don't know, I've certainly been there.
I mean, honestly, if any static I was in was bad, I would try to change it. So yeah, I would say no.
Oh,
not long term anyway.
Oh, you just have that insight. You have the epic insight. Now, I think we can kind of segue. Segue as being grumpy old men, we can kind of segue into the next part, which is, Nike recently released a very big video. Okay, a very, very big video on almost like the history of Guild Wars 2 to a certain extent. And I think I want to bring up a few ideas from that video. And like the first one is certainly like, what do you think changed within the company? And this kind of can go to Doombox as well, because we can see the change in philosophy from Guild Wars 1 to Guild Wars 2. Like, why did ArenaNet go in this direction? Like, what was the reasoning behind the decision to kind of coddle the players a lot, and not allow players to kind of play how they want? Like, what actually changed there exactly? What was the situation within ArenaNet, the company?
I think they almost got too big for their own good at one point. In Guild Wars 1, it was just a smaller company. The game was smaller in depth, but it was smaller in width, but it was a lot deeper. Guild Wars 2 is the opposite. They have all these big systems that require all these big teams, and it sort of evolved into more of this like, corporate machine where you have, middle managers, and those people report to higher ups and all these different groups and teams, and you have other teams just doing writing and other teams just doing like social media, instead of just having like developers all hammering at the game. Like that corporate structure, I feel, might have contributed a bit to that.
So the game became big, so they kind of had no choice but to make it have like more mass appeal, right? And therefore, the game became simplified and lost its depth because they needed to generate more revenue. Is that kind of the idea then, right? Because they need to get the throughput for that cash, that big cash. I mean, maybe, right? Maybe. What do you think, Inks? Why we doomed? Are we doomed?
Are we doomed? No, I think Doombox is right. I think that they grew very quickly. I think part of that's probably NCSoft as well, right? They want to make more money. They want more mass appeal to make more money. And so they create an MMO that is very different from their roots. You know, you got a much bigger studio. They moved studio spaces as well, right? Because they were a much smaller studio. You hear the old stories of Guild Wars 1 where they were like coding in the hallway together and Mike O'Brien was in the mix, coding with everybody else. And in Guild Wars 2, at launch, you kind of heard those stories, but not so much anymore, I don't think, right? I think the company culture has changed quite a bit from Guild Wars 1 to current Guild Wars 2 anyway. And, you know, a lot of that is more employees, more overhead. They need to make more money. They want to make more money. And so I think they tried to come up with a game or are still trying to develop a game that appeals to this mass audience rather than more of a niche audience or a niche group of players.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that company culture that you're talking about, Inks, is because a lot of the developers have left in one way or another, shall we say, right? You know, like from the original, especially from the original Guild Wars 1 team, sorry. You know, a lot of the core developers are no longer with the company anymore so much, and that may be kind of a cause for the change of direction. Of course, all games evolve, right? Like you're always going to see these, you know, this evolution, right, of the game over time. But it is a little bit sad to see the priorities shift away from what we, you know, some of a small slice of the player base wants, I suppose. You know, a small slice of us. Yeah. So
even within Guild Wars 1, though, from the launch of Guild Wars 1 to like the end of the development of Guild Wars 1, the priorities in the game changed. Like when Guild Wars 1 first launched, it was a PvP game.
Oh yeah.
And if you weren't playing in Hall of Heroes or GVG, like you didn't really have an end game. Like you could do Fissure of Woe or Underworld, but like Underworld at that point was trash. Like all you did was like Ecto Farm. Like there was no Doom or anything. It was just dumb. And then like Fissure of Woe wasn't like, you only did it for your armor or to farm shards, but like there wasn't like a great PvE endgame. Like you had to go to PvP at the end. And then I think what they realized was that, oh wait, the majority of our players are playing for the PvE experience. At some point, they realized that the people buying the expansions were buying them for the PvE experience. And so
there's also this idea. Sorry to cut you off, Nike.
No worries.
If you remember, Mo, right around Heart of Thorns launch, was talking with Rihanna. I don't know if you guys remember her. She was a World vs. World streamer, like core World vs. World player. And she had asked a question about World vs. World and what was coming up for it and so on and so forth. And what Mike had said to her was, well, we don't really have only World vs. World players because metrics show us that our players play every game mode. And so I think like that idea or those metrics are stuck in ArenaNet's head, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, what you're describing exists. There is a very large amount of players who play all three game modes with the same build in all three game modes.
Ooh.
Like, and that has been and that's why, like, for a long time, they didn't want to split skills between PvP and PvE because they legitimately, the fear was that the type of people that play, I don't know, Axe Warrior in PvP and World v World, they want the build to feel the same in both game modes. And if one game mode, the build has like a huge cooldown on a skill that it doesn't exist in the other game mode, those players get dissonance and they start to like reach for the uninstall button because their build is trash and they role play as an Axe Warrior, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, it's bizarre. But that is just it's almost like an attitude thing, right? Because you will get punished so hard for doing that because you would, you know, normally you would say, oh, you know, the game doesn't force you to do that, but it kind of does, right? If you try and play World versus World as your Axe Warrior, you're actually dead weight, right? It's just I don't know. I don't even know. It's so confusing. It's really, really confusing to me. Like, why would you want to be useless? I guess you just have to be you have to be careful about, like, I don't even know, dude. I don't even know how to respond to this sort of thing. You know, the player base is just not really interested in putting in a lot of effort. I think that's just modern gamers, man. I'm an old man. I feel bad. We can't talk about this. I feel old.
I mean, back in the dungeon days, like when I would do like a warrior build guide, I would get like so many comments on my YouTube videos that were like, "I love this build. How can I change it to use rifle?" And like I'm like, I mean, I can't even tell you what to change because that's so bad and dumb. But like, I know, like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this guy wants to play rifle because he uses rifle in World v World or PvP, and he also wants to use it in PvE. Like that's probably why. Like he probably made the legendary rifle and he wants to use it everywhere he goes.
Right? Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Yeah. I think like early on, I sort of had that mentality myself on some level where it's like I have this armor set or I have these stats, Berserker, which kind of works in a lot of places anyway, but I have this armor stat and I have these particular weapons, legendary or whatever. And I think you're right, Nike. They just want to use that everywhere without having to put more work in or more playtime in to get something else or to re-gear for a specific game mode, for example. Which is obvious, you know, don't do that. That's not the way to play the game. But I think a lot of people try to do that.
But without build templates this far into the game, makes it hard.
Yeah. Do you think build templates would actually help there with that sort of thing? Because it's an announced feature. Build templates are eventually coming, and we see a bit of a precursor to it with the legendary rune system, which is going to be coming. Wait, isn't that coming like this week or something?
That seems so like uninteresting to me. Like
and everybody else too. The legendary runes. Yeah, I don't think that was like. I think people were like, "Oh my god, legendary runes!" Then they looked at like what the details of it were, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm not making that. No,
legendary runes are an interesting thing. It's one of those things that doesn't make sense now, but I think it will later. Like the way it's designed, particularly with the UI, is that it just is not going to be practical until you have build templates, really, right? Like,
no one wants to scroll through a giant list and like right-click stuff every time they want to change their build. Like,
yeah, But when you see the big picture, right? So like when we get build templates in like I don't know, like a year and a half or something, right? Then it's going to make a hell of a lot of sense because then you could just change it. I mean that will be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. If you suppose that you have your warrior in full legendary gear with legendary runes and sigils, that means you can have one set and just click a button and change from say your power berserker build over to your Connie berserker build instantly, right? Now that is actually pretty insane if you ask me. That's some pretty big value right there. I don't mind that. But right as it stands right now, like then it's like, oh yeah, it's a very big upfront cost, right? I mean,
like it's more convenient just to have a second set of armor and just like double click each item.
And the price. Let's not forget that it appears that legendary runes are going to be like 800 gold each, and you need 6 of them, or some bullshit like that. Like
nice.
And no visual effects.
You could buy 2 32 slot bags and as an upgrade from your 20 slot bags, and put your spare sets of gear and runes in those extra
economically
24 slots you just got, and you're way ahead, like gold wise.
Economically, these things don't make any sense, right? They're just for, like Teapot said, it's for the bigger template wardrobe picture if you're really into that, and there'll be easier, cheaper ways to achieve that. Obviously, like you were saying, Nike, just buy 32 slot bags, or Doombox was saying, have multiple sets of armor or whatever, which most people have right now. This is just that ultimate convenience. It's not even content, it's quality of life kind of big picture stuff. That
I guess the argument is right now they're not even quality of life. Like,
the UI
not
is
actually making your life any easier. So maybe in the future it's quality of life.
It's for those people that want purple in every hole.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I know a guy that does that wants that.
yeah.
I want
His name's
that.
Is that
Deroyer.
Deroy? Yeah, Deroy. He wants it. Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
he
and
role plays as
here's-
if he has
so
an
here's the
extra
other
hole.
thing.
Yeah.
Do you do you think? I mean, do you think that legendary runes and sigils need to have an aura or something? I mean, I think that's over the top. Don't you?
No, I think we've got enough auras. You know, that's
I
enough.
think what they could do for legendary sigils would be like an on-kill effect,
Ooh,
like where like you kill something with your axe that has a legendary sigil and it makes like the body explode or something like that, but not like in a crazy like huge particle effect, but just like a little on-kill effect. Like there's already certain things like that, like if you have a weapon that has like shocking damage or burning damage, like incinerator, and you kill something, it does like set the body on fire. If you've ever noticed that,
The electric dying sound on Asura is like hilarious for Bolt.
so like why not have like like a better death thing if you have like the legendary deal? But
Or another feature is legendary sigils can make weapons dieable.
well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That's like one of the long lost features of Guild Wars 1, right?
I know, it's so
Right.
sad.
Yeah. I suppose it would be very weird to implement, actually, like in with the context of Guild Wars 2, I guess. Like, imagine like
it's
dying.
too late. But...
Well, yeah, dying your legendary weapons would be pretty sick, like that extra level of customization. But I don't know. On the other hand, it would be weird. Like, look, they can't even get you. It makes perfect sense though, right? You can't dye your legendary armor, so like, why would you have to dye your legendary weapons? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. You can't even dye that. It's it is unfortunate, but you can dye your outfits though, so you have that going for you, I guess.
In Guild Wars 1, you could dye your inventory bags.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
That's
true. Yeah, that's true. That is indeed true. But I don't know, dude. I don't know. You know what we've got for Guild Wars 2? We can't be doing a depression tea time, man. We cannot be doing a depression tea time. It's time to get the PMA. Bring the PMA and bring the energy, right? There is actually a pretty big announcement coming up here, right? Well, in theory, anyway, on the 30th of August, there is a live 45-minute announcement thingy, right? And it's about Living Story Season 5 is all they put in the post. It was a forum post, right? That's all we've seen. Okay, and there's a hell of a lot of speculation about it. I can see that Inks is ready to mix himself up here. So
I'm excited.
Let's go.
I mean, I'm excited. I know a lot of people are super depressed, or they're done with the game, or they're in acceptance mode. You know, and that's fine. But I'm excited for it. You know, we don't know anything about Season 5. It's 45 minutes, which is a significant chunk of time. They went out of their way to rent a theater when they're not really doing anything else at PAX that we know of anyway. And I don't know. I'm excited to learn more. This is right in the 3-month-ish cadence mark. And it's not saying like I think it's going to come out on August 30th. It's probably September something. But I'm excited to hear what they have in store. I think it's going to be Season 5 stuff for sure. But I think what they're going to try and do, this is just my theory, I think they're going to try and list off expansion-like qualities in this season. So templates will be like, yes, we're doing templates. We're doing cooking. We're doing, what was the other one? Artificer or something? Or jeweler?
Jeweler, yeah.
I think they're going to go through and list these things and talk a little bit more about what each of these features means for Season 5.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited as well, to be honest. You know, I really hope they deliver on a lot of good stuff. I love the communication. I love that they're trying to build hype. In my opinion, this is ArenaNet learning, right? You know, they have the critical information now. I would go even one step further. I expect there to be even a bigger feature than the things you just listed there. I'm expecting like almost like a new thing, like on the level of mounts, right? Like some kind of new feature. I'm not really sure what they could add at this point. I mean, it could be I don't know, something like fishing or player housing, right? Like something like that.
PvE, that's not going to be terrible.
That good meme, yeah. Well, yeah, I think they've learned their lesson. I don't think they're going to be interviewing random people in the audience. They're not going to do that one again. Although that was
don't pick like a weird neckbeard to interview of all people. Like, come on.
Elite specs. Elite specs. Oh, now, ooh. I don't even know, dude. I'm not sure if there's going to be elite
I would
specs.
like it, but it feels so unlikely. Like, I would love it. Like, that would get me back to the game, like, in a heartbeat. Like, would be new elite specs, but it just seems so unlikely. Especially if the thought process is expansion after season 5. Because then it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Have elite specs in season 5 and then new elite specs in the expansion? Like, all of a sudden now we're like up to 4 elite specs per class. Like, that would be a lot of elite specs. I just don't see them. I can't see that timetable working. Like,
I think that was the initial plan when they first thought about elite specializations. I think they actually they meant to do a lot of elite specs, right? Like 4 plus 5 even. But the thing is, ArenaNet has had some serious trouble with the implementation, right? If you, for example, like HOT is actually a more egregious example of this than PUF. They got a lot better at it, as you'd expect as time went on. But basically, during all of HOT, this is obviously particularly prevalent in PvP. It's like you would only play HOT specs, right? There would not be any core. There's core is just not. It was not a thing in PvP, right? Like it was. And the thing is, in POF they actually alleviated this. Like you've got stuff like Core Thief, Core Guardian, even stuff like Core Warrior, right? Like actually see in Core Rev, this stuff sees play, right? But in HOT,
consider that a good thing, or
I do, yeah. Like the whole point of elite specializations was kind of that they were named really badly. They were supposed to be equal, not better, right? And they ended up just being better. And this happened again in Path of Fire. Like, this is what was quite alarming to me with POF, that they really dropped the ball incredibly hard. I actually think that a lot of the competitive players probably just like flat rage quit when POF came out, because they added stuff like Scourge and Firebrand and Mirage, right? You know, it was just not, it just wasn't good, right? It was just not a good time. Like the level of power creep, the initial power spike was so bad that it probably just turned a lot of people off the game. Like in HOT, I think it was arguably worse with how Rev was, because Rev was like God mode. Like Herald was like pretty much God mode on launch in every game mode, actually. I think so. But the thing is, like, you might think, oh, you know, it's fine, you can just nerf it, right? But the trouble is that people who have been enjoying playing those classes, right, with Omega God mode, right, is that when you nerf it, the people who go, whoa, this is stupid, now I'm being nerfed, I hate this game now, and then they all rage quit, right? You need to, it is so important to kind of nail down the balance, right? You've got to nail it down on launch, otherwise you're gonna just disrupt the player base so much, right? Ooh, yeah, it's not good. And someone just said, "Oh, dude, sorry, guys, I want you guys to get on this, but I have to address this. If they're not better, why would I buy the expansion? Because it's a different way to play. It might be fun. Wait, does no one play the game for fun anymore? Oh my god!
I don't think there's anything wrong with them being better. I want them to be better. Like I want to have, if like, I would feel bad if the best DPS option for a class was the core spec, because then like I felt it when POF came out as a warrior main. Like, Spellbreaker was dog shit in PvE, and like I understood like intellectually that it was a world v world / PvP spec, and it wasn't really meant to be good in PvE. But at the same time, I did feel like I sort of got like less than everyone else in terms of like value out of the expansion. Like, I felt like I wasn't having as much fun as the people who were like enjoying Firebrand. Like,
imagine Scrapper originally.
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's a fair point. But in a way, you that's why you have to like design the encounters, right? For example, you probably didn't feel too bad about Spellbreaker when you were playing Doom, right? Or when you're playing by the way, this is such a Hakuna Tomata. This is like, oh my god, no. That is not the point at all. But anyway, like, when you're playing Doom or Kadim, when you've got these strats that kind of require Spellbreaker, you need to design the specializations around this stuff, and then it makes sense, right? You can design your encounters, you can design even like PvP and World vs. World, you can have different roles for different specializations. They do this, they do that, right? And then you can have balance. And the thing is, like, why would anyone want to be bad? The thing is, Hakuna Tomata, like, the whole point is that the elite specializations, okay, are equal, right? So you wouldn't be bad. You're not going to be gimped, okay, or screwed over by playing this. You just, it's equal.
I guess the way to look at it would be like, if you had, like, let's say you were an Ellie player, and in PvE, the highest DPS Ellie build was core Ellie.
Yep.
Like, you would feel bad because now expansions have come out and you're still playing core Ellie, and you haven't, like, I mean, sure, you can play like Weaver, which is good at like some like other role, or whatever, or Tempest, which is good at some other role, but like just playing like the same, like, I'm not saying that each expansion has to be better than the one before it, but like the elite specs should be like relatively more. I just think you should be excited about them. Like, you shouldn't have an expansion launch where people aren't excited about the elite.
And also the fact that you have to actually like slot in the spec, and a lot of the specs are designed, for specific game modes and stuff. That bringing it back to Guild Wars 1, when a new game would come out, like, you would have 2 new classes entirely, but if you didn't want to play one of the new classes, the existing classes had like heaps of new skills that they could add in to any build. Like, even if you didn't want to play like an assassin when factions came out, you could still play on, your warrior from Prophecies, and you have all these new skills you could capture, new elites you could slot in. And even if you were using like 3 new skills, it still felt new and fresh, and there was something for everybody. Like, you don't have to completely change the nature of your entire character just to access this new stuff. Like, you could mix it in with what was already there.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, and I think that there are pros and cons. I think what I'm talking about is more applicable in PvP, I suppose, rather than PvE, because you could very much like have a very different role, right? For example, Tempest is a support class, right? For your, well, kinda, right, for the team fights, right? Whereas your Weaver is your 1v1 class, something like that. It's very much about there. You just got a different playstyle that you can do it, right? You can have a different playstyle there. Whereas in PvE, if you want to play DPS, then if say Weaver is just not as good as core Ellie, then I guess you haven't gained as much. And there is like there's slightly more strict roles, I suppose, in PvE in a way, right? Like, you want to be hitting the bad men, right? Or supporting your team in some way, basically. Like, those are kind of the 2 things, like, so buffing or healing or something like that. And so I suppose you're a bit more pigeonholed there, so it's difficult to implement that. What I suppose, like, the dream is that you would have like a slightly different DPS class, but like, in my opinion, like, this is something that the Guild Wars 2 has not done particularly well, in my opinion, is that you just need to have a lot of hybrid classes, right? So yeah, like, maybe Weaver would be lower DPS, but it would also buff the group in some way by using some of its mechanics. I don't know, like, you can turn your allies into a glob of water or something, right? And then they splash on the enemy and does loads of damage, right? Like, so hybridization would be a really good thing there. And I think this is something that Guild Wars 2 in PvE, it doesn't really happen. Like, it's funny that the game is advertised like, there's no Holy Trinity, but it's kind of not really. Like, you are a little bit pigeonholed into doing one specific thing on your build a lot of the time. There's not a lot of builds that do more than one thing at the same time, right? And I think more builds should be like that, because then you can have a bit more flexibility and your elite specialization wouldn't feel as punishing, right? Like, if your Spellbreaker, say, had other uses in addition to just being, if it had an advantage over playing something like Core Warrior or Berserker, then it's going to feel less punishing when it's designed differently, right? And it doesn't do as much DPS or something because it does something else to compensate that. I think that's where that's where you find the advantage in having elite specializations that are equal, right? It can be different, right? You can be different approaches to the game that do different things. Whereas in reality, the way PvE balance is designed right now is that every class is like, you kind of slot it in and slot it out, right? Like, it's not about synergy. It's not about building a team composition. It's very much everything is interchangeable with everything else. And I know why they've done that. They've done that because it makes it a lot easier. For example, like I would still say it's way better for pugs to be running double chrono. Whereas in reality, technically speaking, yeah, like Renegade Firebrand is probably advantageous in a lot of places, right? Like, for sure, right? And honestly, more fun as well. Like, I much prefer Firebrand Renegade comps to double chrono at this point. Like, double chrono is like snooze fest, boys. Okay, and yeah, you're going to be having more fun playing that, but it's so much more difficult because it actually requires team play. Like, wow, it's so weird to me how people struggle with team play in this game. I guess it's because they've never really been used to it, right? You know, Guild Wars 2 is all about individual play a lot of the time. It's a very solo-based game, so when you have to work together as a team, it just completely folds all over the place. It feels bad, man. Wait, what is that? What the hell is that, Inks? Is that a little origami you got there?
Yeah, fans sent it to me a long time ago. Rewinding a little bit, what if, and I actually think this is a pretty big possibility, stemming partially from Nike's video about the changes at ArenaNet, the layoffs and so forth as well. What if there are no more expansions? Or what if they don't intend to do an expansion, and instead this living story discussion on August 30th is how can they fit an expansion into Living Story Season 5/Season 6 or whatever?
Well, you go ahead, dude. You go.
Well, I know you said you don't want depression. I'm going to bring it a little bit towards that again.
Uh-oh.
So people saying like the living world having expansion like content like doesn't really sound that good to me, because to be honest, like the expansions in Guild Wars 2 like didn't really like provide that much. Like, yeah, you get the new maps and the story. Yeah, that's true.
POF was essentially 4 living story maps and story chapters dropped in a bundle.
Yeah, but and the fact that there's no raids, no dungeons, which rip dungeons, I miss those. Like, there's no repeatable endgame like instance stuff just bundled with the expansion. Like that seems like it should be a given. Like, it's so weird to me that even the raids like shipped a little bit later than the expansion. Like, so the fact that we're just going to get that but spread out doesn't seem that exciting to me. Like them saying you're getting a new Living World season or you're getting a new Living World season in the style of an expansion, like, basically don't feel that different in my head. Like,
yeah, that's a really big thing about Guild Wars 2 expansion. I'm definitely inclined to agree with Doombox here. Actually, like, it's not like game changing. Like, you can see this particularly with POF, right? When POF came out, within a few days I was back to playing Heart of Thorns content, right? Like, it didn't really do anything. Like, yeah, we had new elite specializations, which is the same thing, but you don't need an expansion to ship elite specializations. Like, that's something that is associated with an expansion, but it's not necessary. Like, in a way, even if they just talk about Living Story, all Living Story is a very it's like a season pass expansion, right? If you look at, say, Season 4, we've got 6 maps out of that, bunch of story, we've got mounts coming out of that. Like, the only thing you're missing is elite specs, right? From the expansion. Like, Living Story ultimately is kind of expansion packs in the Guild Wars 2 style, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, and I never got like even if you completely contest and agree and are okay with the fact that Guild Wars 2 is now a completely casual, friendly, easy game, like, why isn't the story stuff like repeatable or like formatted in such a way where like you're encouraged to redo it? Like, there are some pretty interesting bosses in some of those story missions that you like have never seen again. Like, they even had to tone down that like Caudicus fight. The Joko fight was kind of interesting. Even going back to like Season 2 with the crystal lair, like, you could have just made that some instance that you could just redo and you get like something decent and you're encouraged to do it instead of it being like tucked away in the UI. You got to scroll through the thing and replay the episode. Like no one's going to want to do that. If it was just like, here's your mission, you can do it whenever you want, easier to access, there's a reason to replay it. Like, I don't know why they don't ship stuff like that.
Huh. And they did this very well in Guild Wars 1, right? Like not only with you need to beat all the story on hard mode again to get the titles, but also with the book system in Eye of the North, right? Like, you know, there's actually a pretty good incentive to playing through this stuff and going around again. Like you will be rewarded for that, particularly if you're interested in finishing all the reputations, right? For all the different factions in Eye of the North, right? So it's a shame, really. You can go through it for achievement points again and stuff like that. You can collect up all your living story AP, and this is a big thing, right? Like a lot of people really like AP, so it's not like this isn't the case for some people. I guess it's for other players, the motivation really isn't there. For example, you know, Valen has got, you know, he's got like every bloody achievement in the goddamn game. Ings, do you do a lot of the achievements actually in the story? Do you get those achievements?
Well, I used to, not so much for season 4, and now I'm trying to sort of play catch up. But I used to do all the achievements in AP and all that kind of stuff. I used to chase that.
Yeah.
Well, you know how there's like the dungeon frequenter thing where it's like, you know, do 8 dungeons or whatever and get a chest with stuff in it. What if they did like story frequenter? You just go back, replay some stuff, you get something.
Yeah. I always thought too, like I always thought it was a shame too, and sort of wasted potential that, like the Balthazar fight, for example, why couldn't it have been turned into a 5-man instance, or, you know, maybe even a 10-man instance or something after the story step? Like some of those bosses are really cool, but they don't have a lot of mechanics and so forth because it's story and they just want you to not be over. They want you just to easy clear it, right? But some of them are like, even Caudicus. I know the room is kind of small or whatever for more than 1 or 2 people, but why couldn't that have been like a 5-man boss or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think because
the answer to that is that Mordremoth story challenge mode was a huge failure for them, like in terms of the amount of players that actually did it. Plus, I mean, half of that is the fact that it was buggy as hell when it came out, and it took them a long time to fix the bugs. So like the initial rush of people doing HOT story probably like got to the last boss and then like tried it on the challenge mode, ran into a bug, and were like, all right, forget it. And then they quit playing Guild Wars 2. But like, I think that was not a very well received thing overall by like the more casual community. So I think they probably got the message on that.
I feel like, and you know, you're totally right, Nike, but I feel like if you call something migraine or challenge mode or something like that, I think it's implied in the name already that it's going to give you a migraine to complete it, minus the bugs, because they shouldn't really be there. But even if a lot of people don't do it, that content is important for the overall health of the game. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, that only 2% actually complete it or do it or whatever. It's about having that challenge in the game and attaching a cool reward to it to show that like you've done that achievement, you've done that sort of content, so that other players can say, where did you get that? I want to get it too. Well, you got to go do this challenging piece of content. And ArenaNet seems to like not get that, or not care about that, or just not develop towards that scope for whatever reason.
And a lot of it's kind of like hidden away, like not readily available or seen by most players. You know, Guild Wars 1, the missions were just literal icons on the map and actual towns that you like sat in and grouped up with people. In Guild Wars 2, missions are just like there's a little green spot on the map that ports you into like this other area with a red border around it. And the achievements, you know, are either hidden through the UI or like a little effect on the bottom of your screen. In Guild Wars 1, it was like very obvious where things were. You push this button, it shifts it into hard mode. Everything works the same way. It's streamlined. Like you have this little, you know, this difficult achievement locked away in this, you know, final mission step. You know, it's not as obvious to some people, and it's not as like built in to the game itself. Like could have something to do with it.
Yeah. It's certainly true. Like, you know, just accessibility is a big thing, right? You know, it's making sure that it's very obvious how to do it and easy is a big deal of why people are going to do stuff. But I think, you know, the core problem is reward structure, right? Like, you know, you would have people do this stuff if it was more rewarding. And if it was more challenging as well, you'd probably see it as well. Like a lot of these fights, as you say, Doombox, they're a little bit style over substance, you know? Stuff like Balthazar, there's loads of stuff going all over the place, right? But it doesn't really... Not really the end of the world, right? And the same with the final boss of the recent Living Story. Is actually a really epic boss. Actually, it's a great boss. It's you reusing a raid model. It's a massive purple guy smashing things. You fight lots of little mini bosses. Got phases and stuff like that. But ultimately, you know, it is designed for solo play, and this is a really big problem I think I have with Guild Wars 2's overall design, is that it's not designed for solo. It's completely designed for solo play, right? Not in the same way that within Guild Wars 1, you know, at minimum you're still going to need to get some heroes going at least, right? But with Guild Wars 2, if you bring 5 players into that instance, or you're going to sneeze on the boss and it's going to fall over. Like with 1, it's kind of the same, right? But the entire game seems based around just being alone, right? Which is sad in a lot of ways, you know. Like that's not the point of an MMO, in my opinion. It should be, you got to play with your friends if you want to get the stuff done. Which is, well, but as Nike says, it just didn't work, right? Like even the original story stuff with in the original game, right? With Zaitan, when in Ara was not, people didn't like that, and they didn't like, you know, the fact that Mordramoth was actually a really good fight as well. Like that, I mean, the migraine fight is unironically great. It is actually unironically great. It was a little bit buggy, you know, especially at the start. And when I say a little bit, totally broken, as we said. But
it was better. It was a better designed boss than any of the Fractal bosses at that time. Like, because there weren't any Fractal CMs yet, as we know them. But so it was better than Fractals were at that point. So it was a really good boss, not counting the bugs. Yeah,
and now it's trapped away in this instance that like people
that no one ever does.
Yeah, like imagine if there was just like a permanent like, you know, dungeon entrance or something at that end area, and you could just start it up whenever, you know, party up and do it like it was a dungeon. Like there's so many missed opportunities there. It's sad. And another thing, you know, Nike kind of brought up, you know, Henchmen and Heroes and Guild Wars 1 being a better solo game earlier on. I think a lot of that too has to do with, you know, the way people approach Guild Wars 2's, you know, missions. Like they're not used to the structure of like partying up and stuff. You know, in Guild Wars 1, you were able to either play with people, or if you didn't want to, you could fill those spots with AI. And you know, everything was balanced around that. Like you were expected to have a set number of people, and you're used to having people with you all the time, whether they're AI or not. So people, in like, you know, you make it to a mission and like you see a bunch of other people there, like you're encouraged to group up, you see it. But Guild Wars 2, you're kind of roaming around doing your own thing through the whole game. And then suddenly when you're like thrown into a position where you need to like group up with people to do like a Ra or whatever at the end, like it's like unexpected because you haven't had to deal with it through the entire game. Like it's this unusual thing.
Exactly. It feels like you get put on the spot, right? And you haven't had that expectation going through. That's an excellent point, actually. It really is, you know, because there's such a massive step up from the regular content of the game, the open world and the story, to literally anything else, right? Like raids, fractals, even PvP in World vs. World. Well, World vs. World less so. You know, why World vs. World has stayed surprisingly healthy, in my opinion, is because it is actually a pretty accessible game mode if you just think about it a little bit. It is actually a really good casual game mode, which is why, you know, to go all the way back to the start, when Nike was talking about how they originally thought World vs. World would kind of be the end game in a way, I think that's completely correct. It's why we saw them go so hard on stuff like Seasons at the start and really try and develop World vs. World and fix that out a little bit. Well, that didn't last very long.
I love Seasons. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, but you know, either way, like, I think World vs. World is unironically the optimal game mode for Guild Wars 2. It's the perfect blend of hardcore and casual, right? Like it is it is a complete, like clown fiesta for the most time. But there's a lot of room in there for a lot of optimization and skillful play, particularly on smaller scale stuff like 10v10, 15v15, that sort of thing. It's a real shame that ArenaNet was like, you know what, we're gonna completely abandon this game mode. Utterly, it's gone, it's dead. Yeah, it's good. It's fucking good.
You know what? The other thing too, and this is going back in the opposite direction, but Istan, Domain of Istan, when we got that, there's a story instance, the city of Farner, however you say it.
Yep.
That should have been a dungeon. That should have been a replayable dungeon. Like the instance is there. They went and created a dungeon-sized instance, and then they just put story in there, and that was it. Like nothing else.
Well, the same for like Joko's Palace when we do the final assault.
Yeah,
and face Joko at the end. Like there should be a dungeon as well. Like,
I mean, the replayability that would have added to that episode and to the game would have really been. I think people would have really got excited about that.
Like it's funny because like the knock against Living Story Season 1 is that it was temporary content. But for all intents and purposes, all the other Living Story seasons were temporary content too.
Yeah,
like they were all the Living Story Season 3. We all have it unlocked on our account. We could go play it. I mean, who does?
Yeah. When's the last time you've gone to Lake Doric? Like,
it's all temporary content, and like I would hope that with Season 5 they figure out a way to make at least they put the work that goes into the assets and the instance design and like the character modeling and all that is so that's where all the time is going into these things, and it's like let's squeeze as much use out of the time we put into these assets as possible.
Well, they even made you go into an actual dungeon. You went back into Caudicus's manor, but then it wasn't even a dungeon path. Like we're in the dungeon, and it's not.
Yeah, what's a real shame too? The Istan thing. They had like the solar weapons. What are they called? That you need for vision. I forget the name of the weapons. They have Astral, right? You create the dungeon, and the reward is the astral weapons, and then you can do the regular other step to go from astral to whatever the other step is called, right? The step up from the weapons that look a bit different. Like they had the reward assets in the game, and chose just not to make like a dungeon out of that. It seems crazy to me. I don't know.
I miss dungeons so much, man. I'm such a dungeon like fanboy. Those are my favorite thing ever.
Like people would have gone back to play it when Vision came out because now they need these weapons in order to complete like a part of Vision, right? So you would still have replayability there for that dungeon even afterwards at the end of the season because people need that stuff to make the other legendary trinket.
Yeah, replayability is a big issue that Guild Wars 2 struggles with, right? Like, I think the game is effectively being designed as a bit of a TV show almost, right? Like you just come and play through it, and then you wait for the next episode, right, of the TV show. That's it. Guild Wars 2 is the televised MMO gameplay, right? That's what it is, right? You're an extra in the show, You're just kind of like milling around, like there are NPCs who are the main characters, and you're just watching kind of along for the ride. And yeah, not a lot of it is replayable. The replayability comes from the achievements they put in and the collections and stuff. But I mean, that Skyscale collection, man, that was.
Oh my gosh. Dude, my friend and I were unironically saying the phrase, "I can't wait to finish this so we can quit the game again." That was what we were saying.
Yeah, that is a little moment. No. This has descended down to a depression again. You know what?
All roads lead to
the
basement.
No, okay. I'm
like, I want to be excited. I wish I could be.
No, I want the energy. I want energy, and I am excited.
I hope they I feel like they're gonna talk, like Ink said, they're gonna hit us with a lot of features in Season 5, like that are happening, like. This crafting to 500 is going to enable you to do this cool thing and build templates. I mean, I would prefer more than talking about what content we're going to see. Like, because that's ultimately what matters. Like at this point, there isn't much quality of life that I could get excited that they could add that I would get excited about. But like content's the only thing that at this point that could get me
Didn't they
excited
say
about the game.
Fire was going to be like the content expansion part going to the future one?
I mean, the ratio of features to content was high in Path of Fire, but the ultimate values of that was not.
Ooh, that is deeply unfortunate. One raid a
This
year.
is going to be the real content one for real this time.
Yeah, well, when it comes to expansions, I really don't think there will be another expansion. Is that a hot take? I'm not sure if that's a hot take or not.
It's pretty hard.
We're never going to Cantha, man.
I think there will. I'm going to go ahead and say this, guys. I don't think there will ever be another expansion for Guild Wars 2. Ever. I'm not seeing it.
I think we get one more.
I don't know about never, but I do think because of the layoffs and them refocusing on Guild Wars 2, I think their refocus is this living world, an expansion inside of their season thing is what they're sort of swinging for right now, because they didn't have an expansion planned anytime soon, I don't think.
Well, if the game is ever, on its last legs and they need to give it a shot in the arm, dude, they just need to do a Cantha expansion that will bring back, even people that, hate the game will come back for that.
Cantha expansion is like this winning lotto ticket that they've had, in their, in their, safety deposit box, just, waiting to cash
for
it
a
in.
rainy day, right?
Yeah, it's like, in case of emergency, break glass and cash in your Cantha ticket, But I almost, I hate to be negative. Well, I hate to be negative, but I feel if they do something with Cantha, it's gonna be half-assed. It'll be like one of the episodes, this living story. We'll have to go to Cantha for something, but we're only gonna get to see this tiny little room in Cantha, and then we get teleported back to main Tyria. We go to this room in Cantha where we talk to some guy and get some MacGuffin, and then get teleported back to the mainland of Tyria. And they'll hype it up we're going to Cantha, and it's you get to see a room. It's just, or you go to the Cantha docks, and then you get back on the boat and turn around and go home. That's just.
Yeah.
That's just so.
Or they'll do something weird, Cantha's completely destroyed or corrupted, and it's not even the same.
Yeah, well, I think Cantha would definitely be very, very different now. I think that would be kind of a good thing, though. You're going to see a lot of evolution of the different factions over there right now, and I think that would be good. And the terrain will be very different as well because of the lack of Shiro fucking everything up, right? So I think it'd be a really fresh take, right?
Even if it is garbage, unfun, boring, nothing, I don't care. I just want to walk through Cantha. Even I will be okay, fine, this is amazing. That's how excited I would be. I'm not even a weeb, dude. I just love Cantha.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine if one of the canceled alternative IP projects was a Cantha standalone game, Guild Wars Cantha.
Guild Wars
and
Dynasty.
It was like Guild Wars 2, but completely separate from Tyria, where you have a separate account, separate characters. It's just the Guild Wars universe. It's just oh my god,
I would cry, man.
That would have been pretty fire. But
one thing that triggered me so hard, and I see this a lot on Reddit and stuff. People post stuff where it's I don't want to see Cantha. I want them to expand on Char lore. I want to go to the Char homelands. Those posts get me going. So
yeah. They did a really good job of, especially of making the Norns way less cool than they were in Eye of the North. So
yeah.
When people were I want to hear more about Norn lore, it's you really don't, because they ruined it. So.
Or it's I want to see something completely new. If you want Guild Wars 1, just go play Guild Wars 1. There's so many new areas. I don't know. Nostalgia is for me, at least, is what I'm interested in. I don't care about some random new map that we've never seen before. It's whatever. I just want the old stuff. Call me a boomer, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
have they demonstrated the ability to give us something new?
Scarlet
had. Imagine so what have they done that had no nostalgia that turned out really good? Maybe the Zamaros raid, like, but even then that's like almost like vanilla Guild Wars nostalgia. Like there's like even that had like nostalgia, but
I don't think there's anything wrong with building from a really strong universe, though. I think the original Guild Wars game is excellent, right? And honestly, if you look at Path of Fire and you look at what they delivered with the Loner, I think they did a really good job there. It has been somewhat reimagined as well. Like there are some things that weren't present in the original game, right? We've seen a lot of new sections of this area, particularly with like the snowy area and the kind of the Riverland kind of memes that's been developed a lot more. So it's not like and of course, well, you have the mounts and stuff like that, and there's the culture is very developed as well. I think a lot of the stuff kind of has been fleshed out considerably, right? Like within Guild Wars 2. So I don't think it's that they can't come up with anything new. It's just that they're building on a really strong base of lore, right? So I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that.
No, I think that was the smart move. Was like if you have the nostalgia angle, you should use it. Like that's like just like value that you have. Like why not?
Yeah, and it's why. Yeah, and you're right about the Cantha thing, right? Like I'm really amazed that I'm kind of weirded out that I don't think there will be a Cantha expansion. You know, I really think that they actually want to kind of break free of Guild Wars. The reason, let me explain my hot take, guys. Okay. I don't think there'll be an expansion because I kind of think that ArenaNet want to escape like the engine hell that is Guild Wars 2. I think they want to make something new. They want to make a new IP. If it's something, let's see, they want something fresh, right? Whether another MMO, like another type of game or something like that. It's going to be a very different. Okay, I want. I'm getting triggered by the chat. I'm actually getting triggered by the chat, which is why I'm kind of memeing myself there. The chat is fucking memeing me, dude. Okay, there's Andrew OG guy. But anyway, yeah, that's why I think because they want to do Guild Wars 3 or something like that. Because I think Guild Wars 2 is just so difficult to develop for, and it is an old game, right? So it's going to have a limited amount of future to it. Really, It's a little late for this sort of thing to kind of recover it.
Well, my dream that's never, ever, ever going to happen would be like an old school RuneScape style approach to Guild Wars 1, but that's...
I wonder how possible that would be, actually.
It wouldn't really work for a game like that because with like classic WoW and like RuneScape, those are like household names. Like everyone knows what that is. Like Guild Wars as an IP is like lesser known, and being like, hey, we're bringing back Guild Wars 1. Like not that many people would be into it except for people like me, and there's not that many people.
Yeah. I would love an expansion, though. Maybe I am a little bit hasty, and maybe I'm a bit optimistic about Guild Wars 3. But I actually think that we're going to be cleaning up the dragon storyline for Guild Wars 2.
That sounds bad.
Yeah. So I do want to explain this, actually. This is quite unfortunate. I was a little bit disappointed, and this is quite confirmed now. This is quite confirmed. I'm sure we can have some people who can link. Can we please get some links in the chat to the image from the mail that people got?
No,
so yeah, the snow thing, right? Yeah. So basically, guys, about the event, right? There was an email that got sent out to people about the event, and you saw some snow, right? And the new logo for Living Story Season 5 is red and blue, so it's going to be a bit of a Primordus. Well, yeah, a little bit purpley, a little bit red, So it's going to be a bit Primordus-y and Jaw-maggy is the theory there. And we also see a snowy environment, and if you kind of crank the contrast up a little bit, you can see 2 eyes in the snow as well.
Really?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
So
more of the same.
So bad.
So it does look like we are going to sort those guys out. The dragons, they're going to be dealt with almost certainly where we're going to go with that, which in my opinion is unfortunate because the best part, in my opinion, about the Living Story Season 4 was Joko, right? Like you actually had an interesting character for half the season. He was kind of discarded after just 3 episodes. It's really unfortunate that they never really get to spread their wings with these.
And they left
more
themselves the perfect
characters,
opportunity to do it here. Like the way that stuff ended.
Yeah.
They could have just been like, all right, let's take some B story and just look at something totally, new. But it's like, oh, dragon.
Well, it's just bad writing or bad editing in that you can have a main character, a protagonist who's kind of vanilla, like the commander, and doesn't really have anything interesting going on. as long as the villain is interesting and like a multifaceted character and has like character growth and like Thanos in Endgame, like Thanos is the star of those two
Oh yeah,
movies.
absolutely.
Like, and it's all about his character progression. Like the heroes are just like kind of like there's too many of them for any of them to have any sort of like meaningful character like arcs. So like, but in this we have like in Guild Wars 2 we have the commander who's boring and has nothing interesting, and then you have the dragon who has nothing interesting. So it's like they try to make the side characters interesting, but like I'm sorry, Rox and Bram's relationship isn't particularly interesting. Like it's just not. And Casimir and Marjorie's relationship isn't interesting. Like Joko was so good because he finally you have a villain with a personality and a good personality, unlike Scarlet, like for the first time in a while.
Yeah, and they actually wanted to get rid of Joko even earlier than they actually did, which like I don't understand. I love Joko in Guild Wars 2 anyway. He was great in Guild Wars 1 as well, but that whole scene where he snaps himself back into place,
Yeah,
good stuff.
No, it's true though. It was really good. It was really good stuff and a very enjoyable part of it. It's a shame that it went badly. And then I know I'm a bit salty now. You know, not to complain too much about something that's already happened, but I was really fucking salty when Aurene came back. Like I was like, nah, there's no way, dude. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah.
But you had to see it coming from a mile away when she ate Joko.
I know. Yeah, but come on, man. It should never have happened. Oh, it was. That was that. Do you know what I don't like about it? This is the thing. I wouldn't have minded it so much if they'd done it like first episode, right? Aurene dies, and then like last episode, Aurene comes back. But if you play through the story, right?
It's like 30 seconds later.
She's dead for like 30 seconds, dude. I mean, come on. What?
Yeah,
that's so trash.
For us, she was dead for like 4 months.
Yeah.
But I agree. You definitely they just didn't have time, I guess, or whatever, to space it out more. But you're right. She should have died early in the season and then bring her back like at the end.
This is a really big bonus meme, actually, is that they even did a talk, right? At a convention in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Game. Yeah, I was there, by the way, front row. Me and Angels and Matter as well. And they did a talk about meaningful character death. And then they just bring the character back. Oh no!
I mean, they were talking about air the whole time.
Don't get me started.
They specifically mentioned Aurene. It's like the thing is that could have actually been quite hard hitting because people were really attached to Aurene. You know that people were genuine attached to the dragon, right? The cute little dragon. But then to just pull a full 180 on that is so weird. I don't know.
They have a lot of nerve to be the ones to be on that panel about making characters matter.
It's the big bulls, right? I like it.
That's like oh my god, like that's like McDonald's being on like a why healthy food matters like panel. Like holy shit, man. Like
yeah, it was a peculiar one. Certainly a peculiar approach to the story. But no, I don't know. You never know. I think we'll certainly see some little side stories in there as well. Of course, there may be a raid that comes with Living Story Season 5 as well. Maybe probably not with the first episode, but maybe with the second.
I want them to at least mention raids and fractals. At least mention that dungeons. You're still doing it.
Dude, if they don't, they have to mention it, right? Like
just mention it. Just say it. Just say the words ArenaNet. Just do it.
Well, because it's one of those things where if they don't say it, that is worse than like addressing it, even if like let's say there isn't a raid planned for season 5, right? They have to at least like them saying it like is better than like just completely leaving it out of the presentation and everyone going, what about raids? What about raids? What about raids? What about raids? And then the Reddit is what about raids? What about raids? And then it turns into a shitstorm that overshadows the entire presentation. You know, like that would be the worst case scenario.
Or they're like super vague and PRE like Heart of Thorns, or they're just like there's going to be challenging content.
Challenging group content, and like who knows what it could possibly be.
That's something that hasn't really been talked about actually, but I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised actually if they didn't talk about raids during Living Story 5 actually, no? Like, and fractals and raids will surely come up.
I mean, even if they stuck to the 9-month development cycle, there should still be one due within season 5 at some point, like by episode 3, right? So,
well, fractal should be episode 1.
Should be
in theory, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, in theory.
What fractals are in such a weird spot right now, in my opinion. Like they're an odd little creature. I
wish they were fun.
I don't mind them. I just think they're a bit odd with what they're supposed to be. Really, I think people want them a little bit dungeony. People kind of want that dungeon fix, right? But it's more like just running from boss to boss, bursting things down, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I wish people are always like, we don't need dungeons because we have fractals, but fractals like aren't dungeons. Like, I'm weird. I'm one of the weird people that preferred fractals like pre Heart of Thorns when it was like they were all mashed together. Like, that's another boomer thing coming through there. But
we are the Guild Wars 2 boomer podcast, man. Like, this is the podcast of all the boomers.
I gotta be honest. I like the fractals that are just fast, quick, right to the boss, kill the boss.
Well, they said you could do it in a lunch break.
Yeah, that's. I mean, those are the type of fractals that are my favorite, where you could just go like before they changed Molten and all that stuff. You know, just go right in, go to the boss, kill it. Next fractal.
Yeah, you like Rec 75 inks? Rec 75?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So essentially, you like 5-man raid bosses. Is
sure.
what you're describing.
I mean, I just want to, you know, don't get me wrong. I don't mind dungeons either, but in a dungeon, I expect it to be what fractals have kind of started to become a little bit, where there's a longer path in between bosses and maybe events or something, and like what's the one where you got to jump around on the rooftops and stuff like that? I don't know. I mean, it's fine if you're doing a dungeon, you want that, but.
The one thing I liked about dungeons is that there was no downtime. Like, your downtime was running to the next boss or running to the next encounter. And during that time, that's when you had to still like avoid getting in combat. You had to blast stealth. You had to do all that and make whatever tweaks to your build you want. Like, there was like, sure, the dungeons were like 5 minutes long each at the longest, but you were active the whole time. Like, there was no downtime.
And yeah, the reason I like dungeons so much is like the same reason I like Guild Wars 1 so much. It's like it gives me the same kind of, and like you could optionally just stroll through it casually, or you could go hard, do like out of combat weapon swapping and really engaging stuff, and get rewarded faster. Like, it was the same type of thing.
Well, I suppose that is somewhat similar in fractals. There are a lot of very try-hard strats you can do in fractals if you want to.
But a lot of stuff boxes you in, like, mechanically. Like, you have to... Like, dungeons were like the Wild West. You could, like, approach it in any way, and, like, you were just limited to, like, using your skills. Fractals has a lot of, like, arbitrary, like, stand here type stuff.
And that's why they got rid of... They stopped developing dungeons, because... you combine like the sandbox that dungeons were with a game engine that is almost impossible to update, and players with infinite amounts of time on their hands, and eventually they figure out how to break the dungeon.
That was like the most fun part, though. Like all the quirks and things. They figure out how to break
the dungeon faster than you can fix it. So then what ends up happening is that the content is 100% like broken. Like,
they made dungeons fun on accident. Like all the weird quirks and tricks and like things you could do that were not intended, or like what I loved about them, and like you can't replicate.
Yeah. I guess a raw is probably the biggest thing, but like there were jumping puzzles in HRTW and COE where you could break out of the map and skip right to the boss, like a lot of that. And I think those are the sort of things that like are why they eventually stopped iterating on dungeons, because it was like, we don't want to have to deal with jumping puzzle exploit fixes constantly.
Well, they got rid of that team like right away, and then the
Robert
guy-
Rhoda.
guy
story
who-
team.
The completely non-creepy dev guy who had Venus flytraps as like his hobby. Like that was normal. Yeah, he got fired.
Venus flytraps, huh? Well, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool. you know?
Robert Rhoda.
Yeah.
That's his. Was.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. You know, that's a pretty cool little plants. It's good stuff. Even think about that. Like, and that plant, dude, that plant isn't a fucking vegan, dude. That's fucked up. Oh my god.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell's
Where
going
do you
on
get your chlorophyll, bro?
there?
They should make vegan flies.
Yeah, we need some vegan flies, man. That's all we need.
Oh
That's-
my gosh.
That's insane. Insane. Well, I don't know. We do live in some somewhat exciting times. You know, it's not all bad, guys. It's not all bad. I think this is a big step up for ArenaNet in terms of the communication and the hype as well. Bear in mind the whole kind of live show thing at a theater with actual guests. People are going to be watching there as this unfolds. I don't know. This is kind of what we wanted in a way, right? You know, like what has been really lacking in Guild Wars 2 has been this sense of hype, right? It's never felt exciting, right? When your raid trailer is just Kadim kind of doing this, right? That's not that exciting, guys, is it? You know, and we have seen them make a lot of improvements here. They even did this on. I think they showed this on Guild Chat the other day, like how they render their custom motion capture cutscenes and stuff like that. You know, this sort of thing is really, really awesome, right? For building the atmosphere and excitement around the game. Right, this is really, really, really good stuff. So, with any luck, they really deliver here and drop some good stuff on us. They talk about all the things that people are worried about. Because let's be honest here, okay? This is something worth mentioning as well. I don't know if anyone here is paying attention to the Guild Wars 2 subreddit, but there's been quite the uprising over the past, I want to say, week-ish.
They had to change the rules.
They had to change the...
What?
They did
What
indeed.
rule?
They had to
What
change the
happened?
rules. So there were a mass. I'm sure you've heard of boomers, Inks, and zoomers, perhaps. But have you heard of doomers? Because the Guild Wars 2 subreddit,
Doomsayers?
the Guild Wars 2 subreddit became infested with doom posts. Right, is what happened there. People were just saying that the game is dead, and that everyone's leaving the game and quitting for Final Fantasy. And the moderators were then forced. Okay, they were then forced to first try and tell people to stop and start deleting posts. Then they deleted their own thread on that because it got mass downvoted by like the armies of Kevin and Frosty. And then they made a post that you can't even comment on. And yeah, they were spamming it with like this furnace take and shit as well with like the bloody clown memes. That was Zach as well. Like it's you fuckers, okay? Unbelievable. But so yeah, the Guild Wars 2 community I think really does want this because the subreddit is basically the forums at this point. It's funny that the mods say that they don't want the subreddit to be the forums in their announcement post, but let's be honest, guys, okay? All the actual discussion happens on the subreddit. It doesn't happen. The forums are just, I don't even know what that is. It's kind of
Does
like
anyone unironically use the forum?
The people who don't know that Reddit exists, essentially, that's who goes to the forums. Like
I'll go there for a laugh, but like I don't actually post.
I'm gonna check something.
it's just a lot of, you know, if you
Like you still banned?
If you look into like
No.
the primordial sludge and you see these creatures kind of writhing around in pain, that's what the forums looks like. It's just this bizarre, censored setup, right? With, you know, if you say anything even critical of the game, it gets purged. I mean, Nike's video actually got, someone tried to share Nike's video on the forums. It was actually removed from the forums for being a conspiracy
big
theory.
surprise.
Because
Right.
recalling past events is conspiracy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a full
I-
conspiracy theory. So
Full of unproven accusations.
yeah, I mean, there's the link has got the link there, right? And if you say even if you criticize the game or even disagree with people, you kind of get immediately destroyed. Like the forums are really weird. Actually, the moderation of the forums is kind of creepy. So I don't know. I would say it was a
Yeah.
compliment to be considered the forum of the game, but I guess the mods in the
Yeah.
subreddit don't really want that, right?
I don't know why they even made the forums, because like, I guess again it goes back to them wanting to control the narrative, and because like in Guild Wars 1 you had Guru was essentially the forums, like that's where everyone posted, And then they were kind of specific about saying they didn't want an official forum in Guild Wars 1. And then they like flipped on that in Guild Wars 2 and they wanted an official forum. And I'm guessing that had to just do with controlling the community narrative, but like obviously their moderation, it does feel like North Korea. Not gonna like, it's like you're on like a state sponsored like media website. Like it's like, I don't know. And they ban people and like give you infractions. It's like, if I disagree with this guy, I get an infraction, but he's been disagreeing with me this entire thread, and I don't see how he's not getting an infraction.
Well,
like
this was a big meme, right? So there was a thread about me leaving the game. This moderation is just like, what the fuck? Okay, so people in this thread, obviously a lot of people were like shitting on me, right? As you'd expect, you know, saying some very mean words. And for some reason, Nike, their post didn't get removed, right? But then as soon as some of you know my viewers go in there to try and call people out, right? They then have their post removed. It's like, oh, I wonder why, right? Like what's going on there? I don't understand it. Hey, yeah, if Teapot reads this, Vivon Zulul, well, I guess you won. Yeah, like the forum moderation is absolutely bizarre. Like there's a very good reason why no one uses it. Even ArenaNet don't really use it that often. Like you do get some good snippets. Like they do communicate there. They'll post things about oh yeah, monthly AT is ripped by the way, guys, or you know we're gonna fix this, we're gonna fix that. So there is something which is that's very very solid, I suppose. But I don't know. It is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, back to the original point. So. What I was trying to say is that the Guild Wars 2 community has had this kind of swing of concern and doomerism, right? There's a lot of doomers, right? I guess it's kind of weird to say, seeing as we've got a guy called Doombox on here. It's probably very confusing. I'm sorry for that, dude. But you know,
they're his followers.
They're his followers. He's brought them here.
The Doomer army.
Yeah. The Doomer army has arrived. In any case, though, I think ArenaNet will actually want to address this because there is a good deal of unrest in the community right now with regards to the future of the game, particularly in the more repeatable content. And even now, if I go on the subreddit now, like one of the top posts is, if you are going to abandon the idea of alliances, better tell us now, ArenaNet. And like the Doom posts, they just don't stop, boys. They just don't stop. It's incredible.
It's actually like reassuring in a way. Like it makes me feel better about the game. Like, because for the longest time, whenever I would go on Reddit and stuff, like I felt like I was on crazy pills for half the time because it was like anytime like anyone posts anything that I remotely like agree with or something interesting, like it just gets downvoted. And it's like, am I the only one that thinks this? And now that like people are catching on and it's like a popular idea, it's entering the hive mind, so to speak. Like, it makes me feel better because it's like, oh, people are finally, maybe this will be good. It'll shift some change or something instead of everyone just going along acting like nothing's.
I think the wake-up call was just that they saw a lot of people quitting, right? And they thought, oh, wait, what's going on here? Like, Georgius, another quite important figure, particularly in the PvP scene, he has moved on from Guild Wars 2. Like, a lot of the hardcore scene is going to play weeaboo games instead, right? Like Final Fantasy and so on. I think that kind of it rustled people a little bit, right? Like it kind of started the storm, right? The great rustling of the Guild Wars 2 community, and people started worrying, and like, well, hang on a minute, like maybe there's something to it, right? And it red pilled everyone. Like people actually took the red pill with regards to maybe the game isn't in such a good state if all these dedicated veteran players are leaving. You're always going to have like the kind of like the mega white knights, I suppose, who are going to fanboy the game for eternity. But I think a large majority of the Guild Wars 2 community, at least the ones that engage in a public space, the subreddit, and perhaps even, well, maybe not the forums, actually. The forums, no. The forums, they just say, who? Who's Jaw? Who's Teapot? I've never heard of them. Okay, they're probably...
They're like, I don't even go on Twitch.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Twitch is. I'm so cool. I don't go on that.
Yeah, why would you watch somebody play a game?
You're all triggering me right now.
Oh yeah? Yeah.
Those comments just irritate the hell out of me. They really do.
What the? Like, I didn't even go on this medium. It's like,
Why would you ever watch somebody play a video game? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm too busy playing Guild Wars 2. It's like, well, listen, buddy. Okay, if you seriously,
Newsflash, you can play the game and watch at the same time.
Yeah, like if you seriously cannot be playing like an open world boss, because this is like the casuals, right? Like the open world players. If you can't be doing like open world while listening or watching to a stream at the same time, then I don't know, dude. Like I would be fucking terrified with you in a car, okay? And well, to be honest, like, I'm not even sure if I'd trust you to tie my fucking shoelaces for me. You know, like come on, man, it's ridiculous. Okay, it's like what is that? It's like it's like being ignorant. It's like okay, I don't know something. It's like what?
But and then the other part of that is like, well, why even post?
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, Nike. It's like
if there's like a post about
Mighty
there's like a post about pizza, no one should go in there and go, oh, I don't even eat pizza. That's like the only substance of their post. It's like, well,
they take pride in that.
Yeah, why did you come into the pizza thread then? Like you're an idiot.
I mean, it's like the people in real life that will like bash like popular things and think they're really cool for like not liking something that a lot of people like. It's like, oh yeah, I'm cool because I don't like it.
Yeah, dude. You know, all that normie stuff, dude. You know, I only listen to the most indie of indie bands. Okay, no one's
indie.
heard
I
of
listen
them.
to avant-garde.
Yeah.
Like I just like Yoko Ono screaming over freeform saxophone. That's what I'm into. And if you don't like it, I mean,
you just don't get it, man. You just don't get it.
There's layers to this shit.
It's too complicated for most people, right? Like the normies don't understand. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It is some good stuff. What are we even talking about, man? Like, what are we doing now?
Forums.
Yeah, the forums. Oh, yeah, and ArenaNet community.
The Reddit uprising.
Yeah, because think about it, right? This is something that we did actually know about. When the layoffs happened, when did the layoffs happen? Roughly. What? 3 months ago? 4 months
3 months ago?
3 months ago?
Almost
So
yeah.
We know that they develop content in a staggered cycle, right? You've got one team working on something for you've got 3 teams working on things in a cycle, right? You've got team 1, team 2, and team 3. So they've already been working on season 5, presumably episodes 1 and some of episodes 2 as well, right? So
you would hope.
You would, yeah. So therefore, right, you're not really going to see much change until kind of now anyway. So maybe this is actually going to be the start of something perhaps a little bit new with Guild Wars 2, right? At least with the content development cycle. Whether that will apply to other content, I think, is unlikely. For example, I don't think this is going to change anything for raids. Raids are not going to change, I don't think. And probably not much will change for PvP as well. I wonder if I think alliances are their way of putting world versus world on ice. If that makes any sense, they're just going to say, "Oh, there you go, run free." They're going to say, "Oh, hey, little world versus world guys. Hey, guys. Hey, run. Just go. Off. There you go. Just go in."
The problem is alliances doesn't mean anything without other changes to world versus world at the same time. Let's say alliances came out tomorrow. It's not going to save world versus world unless there's balance to go along with it, reward restructuring, and so on. Like alliances alone is not going to save anything.
I think the name of the game is just automation, though. Alliances will make it so that the system will kind of manage itself, right? The same with PvP. PvP has got ATs, you've got your rating system as well. I think it's all about having these game modes kind of make themselves work, if that makes any sense, right?
You can run them with a skeleton crew.
Yeah. Well,
like 3 guys.
I'm not gonna lie. And this is gonna sound very harsh, right? Because I personally think that a lot of the developers at ArenaNet are very talented, and I know that that Ben P is working really hard on PvP. But I don't know if I'll play another monthly AT before WoW Classic, because I don't know if he has the resources to get ATs fixed before WoW Classic, right? I mean, like they're already doing this. Like they're one step away from just saying, yeah, dude, like PvP is like, yeah, that's it. We're just gonna do something else instead, right? And I think they want the same for World vs. World. I think World vs. World is kind of a bit of a thorn in ArenaNet's side in a way. Like it's this thing that's kind of festering there on the side and is just not. It can't be left alone, right? Because it's not finished as such, and there are some massive glaring issues, massive glaring design problems with it. So I think they want to get it to a state where it's done, right? And my PvP is kind of finished, right? It's got ranking, it's got ATs. What else do you need, right? And then when Alliances come out, then the game mode is finished, right? Like then you've got your guild interaction there. I think at that point they'll be able to say it's over, right? We can now focus entirely on the content we want to develop, which is living world and story content for the game. So I think it's only a matter of time. I think it really is unironically only a matter of time for those game modes, right? And raids I think are unfortunately the same. I think that there will be a point where there won't be another raid wing. We don't even know if there's one coming now, right? Like, we don't know if there's going to be another raid in Guild Wars 2. Is it going to be, I've done the depression thing, haven't I? I didn't even notice. Ooh.
Well, we'll see in August when they have their event. Like, that's when we'll know. I have a feeling.
It's true. We absolutely will. That's what we're all waiting for. We're all waiting, ArenaNet. You need to bring us into the mix.
The sad part for me, listening to Nike's video was, and we talked about this on TeaTime when it actually happened. They had 2 raid teams. Things were going along at a reasonable pace. I think people were a lot more happy and energized about raids back then as well. And then all of a sudden there was an announcement, or there was a discussion or something. It wasn't an announcement. There was a discussion or something where we found out that Fractals and Raids was just one combined team.
That happened a little later.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, but when that happened...
First it was 2 raid teams, and then there was a separate Fractal team, which was Ben, A, and Cameron. But even then, Ben, A, and Cameron started on the raid, one of the 2 raid teams, as like entry-level guys, and they were awesome, and they got moved to Fractals. But yeah, there were 2 raid teams. The team that did Wing 1 did Wing 3, and then Wing 2 was designed by a separate team, or different team leads anyway. And then at some point, I think probably after Wing 3, they mashed them together into one raid team and then moved people off to be on the Fractal team. And that's when the development cycle went from 3 to 4 months to 9 months, 10 months.
My hope is with this refocusing on Guild Wars 2 that they would bring back some of those teams. I don't know that that's actually happened, but that's what I secretly hope for, because that was a good time for Fractals and Raids, for instance content in general. And I think that the game really needs that. I would love to know exactly, and ArenaNet's never going to tell us, but I would love to know exactly when they say refocusing their efforts, what does that actually entail? Focusing on what? Because it doesn't appear, we don't know, but it doesn't appear that structured PvP has too many developers. It doesn't appear World vs. World has ever had too many developers. So it can't all just be Living World. I mean, those teams...
there's 3 Living World teams.
Yeah, but they were there before,
probably
right?
And those teams, the Living World teams, are probably not 3 people. They're probably several times that amount.
And they have sub teams of writing and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It just seems like probably the Living Story teams are the biggest development team.
For sure. And the Living Story, I don't want to bash the Living Story too much, because it's actually, in my mind, it's actually very, very high effort, right? Living Story, to get all of that programmed, all the assets designed for that, all the instancing set up, the events, all the events designed, all the NPCs with all their abilities, that's probably actually an insane amount of work. The only trouble is that it's not repeatable, right? Yeah, voice acting is also, you've got to get the voice acting going there as well,
like
all of that stuff.
localization.
Yeah. Like a lot of it, this stuff is very difficult. Like the only trouble is it's just really bad MMO content, right? Like it's just not good for an MMO game. Like it's high effort, right? But it's not going to give you any longevity in the game. And the fear I have with the refocusing is that I think they're moving away from repeatable content, right? It's just going to be, Guild Wars 2 is going to be a very niche product aimed at players who almost don't really want to play a full MMO, right? It's going to be the opposite of an MMO, which I suppose we can't really complain about because going all the way back to the start of the TeaTime, Guild Wars 1 was not exactly an MMORPG, right? It had multiplayer elements, obviously, but it was almost like how would I even put it? It was like almost like a bit like a dungeon crawler kind of thing, right? With Guild Wars 1, it was a very different style of game. Yeah, a bit MMO light, right? And I think that is what Guild Wars 2 is going to be increasingly pushed towards. I think that I think a lot of the community, right? Perhaps ourselves included, we want to see a change in direction, right? I think the most likely thing we're going to see is actually the opposite. I think we're going to see ArenaNet double down on all of their design decisions.
That's sort of what they said, too. DeRoyer retweeted something like that, like a screenshot where they said, we took time to analyze our game and see what direction we need to go in, and we realized that we need to double down on our core competency. That's like their own words.
It's hard to understand. I just have a hard time even grasping who the average Guild Wars 2 player is and what they do when they play. Because surely you'd think that even if you don't want to be hardcore and you want something easy, you'd want to be playing more often.
Well,
do you always say?
Well, do you though? Now, a lot of the players actually like the fact that you can buy cool skins in the gem store. Right?
But you'd buy more skins in the gem store if you logged in more than once every.
But what if you just paid for? You don't have to grind. You can just literally pay for real money. You just, you get that real cash out, and then you just get it instantly. It's a bit of an interesting one. I think your average Guild Wars 2 player really doesn't like grinding. You just want to go for the easier rewards, right? It's all about that dopamine rush, dude, of getting that. That gem store outfit, it's not even a joke though. I'm not even memeing. Your average Guild Wars 2 player is Doombox. Okay, it's the kind of person who posts on the subreddit after 7 years I finally crafted my first legend.
It took me the whole time.
Yeah, it is. I know it's very difficult for us to understand, right? Because we come from a very different perspective, right?
I've accepted that I am not in the correct audience for the game, but I still want it to be fun, and I still want it to succeed. That's why I haven't quit after 14 years of investment into this series. But it's just sad, you're saying, they put all this effort into the living story. Clearly they are putting a lot of work into it. They're not bad at it. I just wish they were focusing that work somewhere else.
There's an irony to Guild Wars 2's philosophy of something for everyone, right? I think one of the things people would say Guild Wars 2 is it's got something for everyone, right? I think in a way nothing could be further from the truth. I think it doesn't really have much to offer you if if you're a bit more than a bot, right? This game would be great.
Well, okay, so I think it doesn't have a lot to offer veteran players. I think if you're a brand new player to the series, it has a ton of content to offer for I don't really want to give a time frame, but X amount of hours, let's say. So I think there's a lot to do, a lot to play, and a lot to experience when you first start playing. But if you play for a number of years, and it doesn't even have to be 7 years or 6 years, that content runs out very quickly, and then you're relying on ArenaNet's pace of content to keep you entertained and logged in and so forth. And that's just not there. They're just very slow at that in general, especially right now. But even in the past, we waited 10 months between Heart of Thorns release and its fix, the big fix patch or whatever that they did. And, it's not really new, this slow content sort of release. Probably since Heart of Thorns, really, I guess, right?
And because Guild Wars 2 doesn't really know what it wants to be, or it didn't at the beginning, and it kind of tried to please all these different different groups, it kind of evolved the player base into a state where it's like too late for them to fix anything. Like because they were dipped into all these different baskets at once, like it created this amalgamation of players that we're stuck with now that only accept certain types of content. And like if they would have just picked like a format and stuck with it from the beginning and catered to that group, like it could have been better. You know, Guild Wars 1 picked a formula, stuck with it. It didn't really innovate. It didn't really reinvent the wheel that much, but you know, it was fun for the people that loved it at the beginning to the end. And people who went into Guild Wars 2 expecting it to be one way, and then they're left with, you know, the story walking simulator once every, you know, 3 months now. Like they're left wanting more just because it had this kind of identity crisis at the beginning.
Yeah. Ultimately, this is just, you know, we're slowly just accepting that we're, you know, we are not the target demographic, and also that Guild Wars 2 is a very different type of game, right? Like when I think we still haven't kind of gotten over the fact that Guild Wars 2 is never going to be that MMO, right? That you can just play every single day and just, you know, have as that second life. And I think this is something you see complained about on quite a lot on the forums and the subreddit, right? I don't want, you know, a game shouldn't be a job, man. Well, what about people who want the game to be kind of like a job, right? And it really invest heavily into one single title. That's well.
I don't even think it needs to be one or the other. Like you can have a
Both,
game that you can just pick up and play whenever you want, but also has depth if you want to explore. Like I don't want to be a total Guild Wars 1 shill, but like that's kind of what it was. Like you could play that game casually, you know, do a couple missions, you know, do a vanquish here or there, or you could like grind and speed clear for like 10 hours straight like a sweaty nerd. Like you can do both.
I think that's a part of the core frustration, Dumonks. It's a great point there, right? We want both, right? Like we don't want this game to like say fuck the casuals, get the hell out. We just believe that it's possible to cater to multiple playstyles instead of just one, right? And I think that's what we've kind of seen, right? It's genuinely really unfortunate. It's yeah.
Well, and it doesn't even really make sense because you already have a game that is very friendly to a casual player. You can add in, and we even had it at one point, like Nike's video said, and then they sort of changed gears again. But you can have more challenging content, more challenging bosses. You can remove restrictions on farming something over and over again. Like they put that stuff there on purpose to stop you from doing it. If they just didn't go out of their way to stop you from replaying something over and over and over again, the casual game that exists is still there, but you're adding extra elements for those players who don't want to play it so casually.
And what's funny is like even the casual content has those gates. Like, let's say you're the world boss guy, like you are not even the commander. You're like the dude who just follows the commander around to all the world bosses, and you get your rare and your whatever at every world boss, just following the timer. There's a limit to how much you can do that. Like you stop getting your free rare out of the chest after once per day, you know, like they don't.
And the boss itself is on a time gate too.
Well, that's not even so bad because now there's enough like world bosses and events where you're constantly like you finish one and you can go right to the next one and you're not waiting a half hour for the next thing to happen. But just like if you're into world bosses, why can't you, and you want to do like a 36-hour marathon no life world boss session, why can't you? Why shouldn't you be allowed to do that and get and grind out your free rare every world boss? But they just put these time gates on there, the daily reset and stuff. Like it just they're letting you know how much they expect you to play the content. Like,
and that goes back to what I was saying about like being a rat in an experiment. Like you feel like some of this stuff was like engineered in such a way to like, you know, hook you in and like, you know, keep you coming back. It doesn't feel natural the way that you play through it.
Yeah. It's very controlled environment. This is something that, well, this is ArenaNet 101 really. Like they control the you know, the state of play. Is that the stage of play rather? You know, it is all exactly a laboratory, right? Like, you know, everything is clinical in the way you do things, right? You know, you can't do chat Garrett more than once a day. No, bad, not allowed. You can't do raids more than once a week. No, bad. Stop doing that, right? It's I don't know. Telling your players how to play your game is such a weird thing for me, and it's something that ArenaNet really kind of goes down hard. You know what I mean? It's really unfortunate.
The worst part is being fully aware that it's happening, but like doing it anyway. You're like aware that you're being like pushed through this. Like I was so much in that like daily trap. Like I did my dailies like every day just to get just the daily AP. Even though I like didn't want to, like I would be like away in places like, oh, I'm gonna miss my dailies. Oh no. Like just getting in that trap. Like you're aware of it, but you're like still do it anyways. Like feels bad. Like it's not fun. Like I want to just log in because I want to, not because there's stuff like getting me to.
Yeah. You can do Rex multiple times a day. It feels good, man.
And Dungeon Frequenter too. You could keep repeating that. That's my favorite thing they added for Dungeon. Best Dungeon update was Dungeon Frequenter.
But they want you to do 5 different dungeons. They want you to, and then once you've done 5 different dungeons however many times, like the dungeons themselves, you can't repeat any of the paths because then that stops getting rewarding. Like they don't stop you, but they slow you down, like the amount of loot you can get. Like if you just want to grind COF Path 1, I don't see why it's a problem that you should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, like that was the Guild Wars 1 endgame. You're doing the same farm over and over again. I mean, not a lot of people might like that. If you don't have to do it. There's a wide variety.
Also, Guild Wars 1 had like a better reward structure in that there were certain rare skins that you could only get from doing the dungeons, and they had very, very, very low drop rates. So you were encouraged to do the dungeons over and over and over and over and over and over again to try to get them. And Guild Wars 2 doesn't have
like there's the only places where stuff like that exists is like really small, and it's like it swings too far in one direction. Like the Chak egg is like more stuff like that, but like not as extreme, just scattered throughout the game everywhere. Would have been like a sweet thing.
It's very or nothing, and there are some stuff like that. For example, there's like Eye of Argus from a boss in Path of Fire, I think. But yeah, you're absolutely right there. Like it is all or nothing. Either you get like 2 blues and a green and maybe a rare, or you get literally an item worth 20,000 gold. You know, like, oh wow, okay. And the same is true in like the confetti infusion as well. Is like you get like that one is like a fucking joke, dude. Like you get literally nothing, or you get the rarest thing in the entire game. I mean, what is that? I mean, what?
Like even the basic like exotic drops you get like are like 1 to 5 gold maybe. I wish there were just more like really cool like semi-legendary skins that were like mediumly expensive. Like if the Faux Fire's Essence sword, like the glowy blue one, if that dropped in like AC or something, like that would be sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that will be some good shit for sure. Oh man, you know what? I wanna kind of wrap it up, but I think we got to wrap it up on a positive note. You know, we got to bring the PMA around. You know, like, I do want to say that I am really excited, and you know what? I genuinely hope that ArenaNet delivers on this, and I am looking forward to playing Guild Wars 2 in the future. I will probably never quit this game, actually. I am far too attached to Guild Wars 2, and, well, Guild Wars in general, really, to ever really
Guild Wars
quit,
1 is still hopping. You can always jump back in.
Yeah, exactly. It's still going, you know, it's all still there. There's even some new content, right, coming through. Aren't they working on developing some actual new content for Guild Wars 1 as well? I think.
Is that true? I'm not.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I heard there was actually going to be new content.
That would be huge.
Yeah. Seriously, I heard there was going to be new content for Guild Wars 1, like another little campaign, another campaign or something like that. But maybe I dreamt that. I'm not sure. Right? Like,
I would love for that to be true.
Yeah,
but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe someone gone. Maybe I just actually hallucinated that. Like I was like,
it's a good hallucination.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true, but you know what? Maybe
they were working on like visual updates. I think.
Yeah,
right?
They've added a lot of really cool little features here and there, like the graphic improvements and the draw distance, and just little settings and tweaks that they've added. They're actually quite cool. They did a huge overhaul of the inventory system that makes it really interesting, and it's just cool to see them doing even that. Like, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But I didn't want to kind of lay it down, guys. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't want to say that the game is trash. The game is not trash. I've played it for 7 years at this point, right? It's a very good game, and I got a lot of value out of it. But like we all wanted just so much. Our hopes and expectations were so high that I suppose we were maybe bound for disappointment. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing the game in the future, and I think I will enjoy it a lot more when I'm playing other stuff. See, I'm going for the big brain play, guys. Right? Like this is what, in a way, I would recommend to everyone is like play Guild Wars 2, but play other games as well. Like it is not World of Warcraft, right? Like where you can like just no life the game. Although even modern WoW, you can't really do that anymore. Just modern gaming. Oh my god, time machine. Where's the time machine, guys? Okay, the boomer energy is flowing through me, guys. Okay, and it feels it feels bad.
Geez, when WoW was young, that was pure no life right there. You could no life it hardcore.
Yeah, very good. Feels fucking good.
TeaPot was like 6,
Yeah,
6 years old back then.
I needed to
no life the hell out of it.
Yeah. Game has content, but no players by MightyTeapot 2019. Well, that's actually one of my biggest problems with the game right now. Like, one of the reasons I've lost satisfaction with the game is because I'm basically playing solo. I actually would, I would say this, and I will make this statement now, guys. If I actually still had a community in the game and a guild to play with, I absolutely would not even be upset with the state of the game right now. I can't believe I'm saying that. I am such an ArenaNet show, but it's actually
very true.
It's true.
Community is what keeps you in any game.
Yeah,
I feel like,
especially an MMO, right? Oh,
yep.
Yeah, for sure. Guild Wars 2 has a lot of weird things that are in opposition to each other, where like community is like the strongest, like a lot of the content, the end game content is group based. You have a PvP team, you have a raid static, you have a world v world raid that you go to, or you're into the GVG scene. Like everything's group based, but every system in the game tells you that grouping is unimportant. You know what I mean? Like, so you're being pulled in 2 separate directions. So like up until you get to the end game, everything you're told and taught is that grouping isn't important. So it retains players that aren't into that. And then it has like this insanely good combat system that rewards play skill to like an unbelievable extent. Like a good player doing a benchmark rotation is going to be like 30 or 40% better than a guy who doesn't know what the hell he's doing, just pressing buttons even on the same build. Like maybe more than that, maybe like 50% better, maybe even double. Like, I don't know, but like, so you have this incredibly skill rewarding combat system, but then the content is fucking brain dead easy, 99% of it. So like you're given this tool that says, be amazing, go above and beyond, be like insanely good, but then they don't give you anything to use it with. So it's like, again, you're being pulled in 2 different directions. The game's telling you one message, but then in the other ear, it's telling you another message.
It's like having a real like souped up top of the line car and like driving to the store.
This is exactly what people have. Yeah, it's so funny that you said that, actually, because I think I gave this analogy a very long time ago. It's like, you've got a epic sports car and you're driving it around the parking lot, right? Like that's Guild Wars 2 in a nutshell right there, boys. It's like, yeah. You spend all day driving around at 20 miles an hour in like the most sophisticated vehicle that you can currently buy. Welcome to Guild Wars 2, ladies and gentlemen. We've got
the vertical progression in Guild Wars 2 is player skill.
Yeah.
That's where the vertical progression lies. And there's a very large percentage of players who, when you tell them that, like, you can see the math brain happening where they're trying to figure out like what that means, because they're from other MMOs or other games where it's gear based and player skill is almost irrelevant, where you can like buy your way to like OP gear and just one shot everything. And I've been playing PoE recently, and there's a lot of that in PoE, where eventually you just get gear that's so good that you outgear the content, and even the hardest fights in the game you can kind of stomp without having to even know the mechanics. So Guild Wars 2, that never happens, like, because the gear, there's no gear progression. So when you get these players that are like, well, I've hit level 80 in Guild Wars 2. What do I do now? And it's like, well, you can like get good at the game.
Get good.
And they're just like, what do you mean? And it's like, well, there's no more vertical progression. You just have to like get better.
Good.
You have to get better at playing your build. What? Like they don't, that doesn't like that so doesn't compute to them. Like it's like you're talking to them in a foreign language.
Yeah.
But
it sucks. Guild Wars 2 is ahead of its time, man. Seriously. Like people aren't ready for it. People are not, even now, people are not ready for Guild Wars 2. Right? It's sad. It's sad but true.
Not prepared.
Yeah, we're in the worst possible dimension. We need another alternate universe. I'm afraid for this one. It's the only way. Yeah, only 5 heads, guys. And there any? I just want to ask this: are there any intellectuals in the chat, guys? I'm just wondering if there are any.
Hog University master degree graduates.
Yeah, so maybe maybe Peepo University, perhaps. Well, don't tell ArenaNet about that either. That's another can of worms right there, boys. But
a lot of banned memes.
A lot of
memes. Listen. Yeah, when they make their announcement stream, guys, do not go into their channel and meme. No emotes.
Oh yeah.
No memes during that announcement stream, guys.
That's how you get banned.
That is very, very advanced way to get banned. Like almost unbelievably fast. Like it's like they have like a peepo filter.
Yeah, they hate those peepos. Peepos are not allowed. Okay, no
all
frogs.
Valen's emotes all banned.
Wait, really?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, wow, that would be fucked up. They just ban Valen's memes. But do you think they know about the furnace though? No, actually, no. I'm not going to encourage the chat because they're going to do it otherwise. No, yeah, and don't ask about fractal leaderboards either. Didn't you get? Did you get permabanned from their channel for asking about fractal leaderboards? I just
recently got unbanned.
Yeah, nice.
Because I asked the partner program to unban me.
Nice.
So, yeah. But I was banned in their chat for asking where fractal leaderboards.
Nice. That's good. That is good. All right, I'll tell you what. I think that is time to wrap things up here. Proceedings have come to a close. So thank you guys for watching. But one more thing, okay? We've got to say thank you to our wonderful guests, especially. Okay, in the top left, very, very yellow and incredibly still, even came prepared with a lovely special mug for the occasion. It is...
Can't have tea time without tea.
Yeah, all the way from Guild Wars 1, it is Doombox. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you real quick?
Yeah, so I make bi-yearly Guild Wars videos on my channel since 2008. Just check it out as Doombox. And I have actually recently made a Twitch. So I used to do streaming on YouTube like the boomer I am. Ouch. But so I do have a Twitch now. It is Doombox TV. So yeah, check that out. And if you want to check out Guild Wars 1, if you're looking for something to play and you're sick of Guild Wars 2, we always welcome you back there. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, so yeah, you can find a link. The bot is posting it in the chat. There you go. So make sure to follow our boy. Okay, brand new memer. Okay, even custom artwork. That's really high effort, by the way. Like no one's done that before. Like I think that should be a requirement of the show now. So new guests, pay attention. Okay, but let's see. Who else have we got here? Well, I'll tell you what. He actually skipped the entire Tour de France for this, guys. It is Zwift Main.
I'm watching it on my other monitor on mute.
That's value. Zwift Main, Nike DNT. Also, PoE Lord, No Death Master.
Yeah. I will hopefully make Guild Wars 2 videos when there's relevant things to make videos about. So check me out on YouTube there, and I do stream some PoE and a lot of Zwift. And once indoor season starts in like January or December, I'll be Zwifting quite a bit.
Okay. And then finally, okay, it is the father of Guild Wars 2, okay, the content creator to end us all, the true shill. It is MMO Inks. Somehow the the most PMA person here, actually. Well, I won't say least negative, I'll say most PMA. Inks bringing the positivity and the energy today. Thank you, Inks.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the 30th of July and August. We didn't even talk about... Queen's Gauntlet and so forth. Anyway, Number one Euro Truck streamer reporting in. Make sure you come follow us. You watch me drive a truck around. Super
Are you
exciting.
for real playing that?
No.
Oh.
I should get a real wheel and everything, right? Play Euro Trucks. That should be my thing. I think I found my new calling in life.
Yeah, people would watch that. They want to see that content, dude. But I mean, is that it? Is that what we have?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, Twitch, and Twitter, and YouTube, and MMO Inks.
All right, there you go, MMO Inks, guys. And finally, it is me. You know, if you want to see all of that together, guys, we got Guild Wars 2 content, we got memes, okay, we got ATs, we got raids, we got doing World vs. World dailies, because I don't really like World vs. World anymore. Like, you really got it all, okay? Everyday memes. We're going to be hyping up the elitist raiding party. Be sure to check out that as well. This is very important. I'm going to shill for this hard. Guys, we've got 600 people here, and I want you guys to all step the fuck up. ! ERP in the chat. That is going to take you to a Matcherino page, okay, for the tournament. You can see it's the 24th and the 25th of August, and you can help. You can either send me gold in the game, send me all those mystic coins from those dailies. Just log into the game. That's all I'm asking. Log in and just send me all of your currency, all right? Simple as that. But you can also add to the cash prize. We've nearly got $2,500 for the Elitist Raiding Party prize pool. This is already...
That's a lot of monthly sub fees for Final Fantasy.
Yep, that's correct.
The winning team.
It absolutely is. So... get over there, guys, and you can either throw me a few dollars into the prize pool, or you can actually do it for free, guys. You don't have to even spend any money. You can just click on some links, like some YouTube videos, okay? Give these companies the exposure they desire, and you can add money to the prize pool for absolutely free. So be sure to get over there and do that shit right the fuck now, okay? Wait, why is everyone frozen? What the hell is this? Can I bring you guys back?
I don't know. We're froze.
Everybody
missed my ERP sign. What
oh
the heck?
my god! What the hell has happened? Now it's all gone wrong. Like the disc.
Yeah, I'm frozen too. What's going on?
Yeah, no, nice. Okay. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow everyone here. Okay, follow, subscribe. ERP! ! ERP in the chat. Go, 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 go. Discord is just I brought it back, but it's going. But you know. It's too late now. So yeah, we're going to go for a raid here. We're moving on to the next streamer now. Look at this. We've got some, I think we've got some PoE action going on over there on Nike's stream there. So that's some good shit. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching. Follow, subscribe to everyone here. I'll be back tomorrow. And of course, you can find these guys on their respective channels in the future. Be sure to check them out. They're fucking god gamers. So yeah, good night, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Give us your money, you know, especially to the ERP. Very important. Go click on some stuff for me, guys. You better get on that, okay? Subscribe. Boom. Also, the debate video is coming soon on YouTube, by the way. Like the mega debate. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good night, guys. See you later.